So the whole poem is what we call an extended metaphor. The metaphor of the cage standing for oppression and restriction and your loss of human rights extends through the whole poem. So the extended metaphor is that the cage stands for oppression. Okay, there are some symbols that you will see occur right through the whole poem, so I'll just go through those quickly. So the cage obviously represents this imprisonment of certain people, and it represents the form of oppression that people are have to endure. The song represents the voice of protest, and the song represents this idea that no one can take away your voice. Okay, so the song is the one thing that the caged bird can do. The bird itself is a symbol of all victims, of all people who have, over the history of mankind, endured some kind of suffering at the hands of those who would oppress them and who would discriminate against them for one reason or another. And throughout history, probably racial discrimination has been the worst, the greatest oppression that mankind has ever known. Okay, so the other thing that we have to remember is that oppression can come in the form of this kind of psychological oppression and a physical oppression. So you can physically be caged and imprisoned because you are who you are, but you can also be psychologically or mentally oppressed because of who you are. So that cage represents both of those kinds of oppression, okay? But it is a universal poem, and it is a poem of hope. So as much as it's a poem of protest, it is a poem of hope, okay? So let's look at the first verse. In stanza 1, it says, "A free bird leaps." So the first word that we see that gets our attention is this idea of free. The freedom. A bird who is free can leap. And if you think of the choice of that verb, this is diction, if you can leap around, you are definitely unrestricted. And where does this bird leap? The bird leaps on the back of the wind. Now, if you are out on the back of the wind, you are out in the open. There is this image of freedom. No one can contain the wind. No one can restrict the wind, okay? And floats downstream. When you're going downstream, you're going towards the mouth, the source of the river. And when the bird chooses, can you see that the bird, so he does not refer to men, it refers to man, okay, these oppressed people. It says, and floats downstream till the current ends. Now, there again is another notion of movement. A current moves. A current goes where it wants to go, okay? And there's no restriction in a current. And it says there, look at that word till. The bird decides when he is going to dip his wing and take off into the sky. So that word till is very important because this gives the notion that